What's going on, guys? Hope all is well. My name is Rico. I appreciate you guys for watching this video. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I wanted to talk about how does credit card interest works. And it's very important to know that because with credit cards and institutions that lend credit cards, they are in the business to lend money. So it's very important to know how interest works so you can be able to make sure that you can afford what you're doing and make sure that you know how to handle a credit card, because a lot of people get themselves in trouble with credit cards because they don't know how to handle it. I think about how someone gets their first credit card when they're 20 something, and then they get themselves in trouble. They rack up debt, and then that interest starts to kind of just pile up and start to come on the account, and you wonder, how is interest calculated? How does it work? Why am I getting this big interest charge? So it's very important to know how interest works, and very important to know because even older people who have credit cards, they use the credit card, but they don't know exactly the dynamic of how interest works. So it's very important to know. So with a credit card, every credit card has an interest rate. And so say, for example, your credit card has an interest rate of 15%. So say you get a credit card and you had a zero balance and you use the credit card. You use it for $1,000. So your statement closes out. And when your statement closes out, you get a statement in the mail or online that states, hey, you have $1,000 balance. Your statement closed out with $1,000 balance, and your payment will be due on the 5th of May. And what's going to happen is, in order to avoid interest, what you can do is pay off your statement balance in full. So pay off that $1,000 in full by May 5th. If you pay every dollar, pay at least $1,000 by May 5th, you will avoid interest. And that's how to avoid interest, guys. You pay off your statement balance in full every month. If you do that, you will never be charged interest. So anytime you get a statement inside the mail and they give you a due date and you pay it off in full by the due date, you will never have interest. So that's how to avoid interest. But say, for example, you get a statement for $1,000 and they say, hey, it's due by May 5th, this $1,000 payment. But say, for example, you can't afford it. Only amount that you can afford is probably maybe, let's say, the minimum payment, which is, we'll say, $25. So only amount you pay is $25. So, which is okay. You pay $25. That ensures that you are not late, that you at least made a payment, that you won't be charged a late fee. But after that, so after you pay that $25 by the due date, and then your net statement closes out, what's going to happen after that? They're going to calculate your interest, because since you only paid $25, you didn't pay the whole $1,000. That's when they're going to calculate your interest on your net statement and charge you interest on that statement. So what they're going to do, the calculation is this. Calculation is your average daily balance multiplied times your interest rate, which is, we said 15%, divided by 365. It signifies 365 days, and we get that number and multiply times 30. So average daily balance multiplied times your interest rate divided by 365, and then multiply times the days in the billing cycle, which could be 30 days, 31 days, 32 days, just depending on how many days is in that billing cycle. And they use that formula to calculate your interest charge for the month. And with average daily balance, that first part of the equation, average daily balance is essentially your average daily balance for the entire month. So you spent like I stated, you spent $1,000. You had spent $1,000. And what they're gonna do when your statement closes out, they're gonna calculate what was your average daily balance for the entire month. So they just calculate from that 30 days of you having that balance, what was your average daily balance during that month, and that's how they calculate your average daily balance. And That's how they calculate interest. Average daily balance time interest rate average daily balance time interest rate divided by 365 multiplied time the days in the billing cycle. And then, so you charge that interest. And then after that, you're going to be heading to your next statement where you obviously make new transactions, add on to your bill. And then you're going to have the option again to be able to pay off your balance in full on your next statement. But in this situation, you have interest accruing now because you have basic compounding interest, because basically what's going on, since you didn't pay off the your entire balance of $1,000, you have a carried over balance. So interest is accruing on that statement. It's accruing on that balance carried over. And that's how, interest will keep accruing in order to pay off your balance full. If you decide to pay off your balance in full, then you need to call up the institution and get a payoff amount, which is going to calculate your interest that's charged up to that point, so you can be able to pay off the account in full to a zero balance. So it's important to me, if you can afford, so pay off your balance in full every month. And that's a great way just to avoid interest and not have interest charges, because what happens to people, or what hurts people, is not when you have a small balance, like a $300 balance, a $500 balance, and you have an interest charges, because they're going to be small. If you have a 15% interest rate and a $500 balance, you're not going to have a big interest charge. But then once you start to kind of rack up debt, if you do, like you get into like $2,000, $5,000, $7,000, that's when you notice bigger interest charges. And then that what hurts people, because when you have bigger interest charges, it adds on to your minimum payment. So your minimum payment is basically used for a lot of institutions. It's 1% of the balance plus any fees if you have any, and plus any interest. So that's what kind of hurt someone, because if you have higher and bigger interest charges, as you have a bigger balance, that's going to add on to your minimum payment to make those payments higher. And that's how people can get themselves in trouble, essentially. So it's very important to not rack up so much debt that you can't afford, and make sure that you know what you can afford, and make sure that you practice discipline when using your credit card, and just know how interest works, and just know what you can afford, because that's what hurts people. So just want to kind of give that brief summary on how interest works. And main point I want to calculate is that average daily balance, or the formula for it, because as you have a higher balance, that average daily balance is going to be higher. And then you get that amount times the interest rate divided by 365 and multiply times the days in billing cycle. That's what's going to calculate your interest. And you just have higher interest charges as you have a bigger balance. And as you pay the balance down, you're going to have a smaller interest charges because you have a smaller average daily balance. So I hope that made sense to you guys. Just wanted to share that with you guys, for people who want to get a credit card, or want to learn the dynamic of interest on a credit card. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and comment as well. Let me know your thoughts about this conversation we had. So I appreciate you guys. Subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.